this is a small restrictive VSD. Actually, the left ventricle starts contracting before the right ventricle. So, the shunt starts very early. So, it overlaps the first heart sound also. Shunt starts very early and it continues because throughout the systole, the pressure in the left ventricle remains higher than the right ventricle. So, in a small VSD, when the shunt continues throughout the systole, it becomes a pan-systolic murmur in the, it is a pan-systolic shunt murmur. So, this is an important point. As the size of the shunt increases, the duration of the murmur decreases. So, with the large VSD, it is only a, let's see, this is a, I'll go to the next slide. It is a, this is a moderate VSD. So, now you can see the size is bigger. So, the pressure equalizes much earlier. So, it's a ejection systolic murmur in this, in moderate VSD. However, in a large non-restrictive VSD, the flow equalizes very early and it is in the early systolic murmur, and in early systole, the pressure equalizes between the two. So, you see the difference between the large non-restrictive VSD, you have an early systolic murmur, then in the moderate VSD, you have an ejection systolic murmur, and in the small restrictive VSD, you have a pan-systolic murmur. So, that is one important difference between the three. Now, second important difference, because the aortic valve and the pulmonary valve, they close normally in if it is a small restrictive VSD. However, in a moderate VSD, because the blood flow from the left ventricle goes to the right ventricle, more of the blood flow. So, this aortic valve closes early and pulmonary valve closes a bit late because there is more blood flow through the pulmonary artery. Because of the early closure of A2 and late closure of P2, what happens to S2? So, the S2 is wide split. The second sound is wide split, and this is changing in inspiration. This is in moderate, while in the, if we go to the small restrictive VSD, this S2 is normal, there is no split, and S1 is, because I told you, because there is a pan-systolic murmur, this S1 is drowned in the murmur. So, you may not be able to hear the S1 very clearly. In small restrictive VSD, chest X-ray will be normal, ECG will be normal, there is no pulmonary arterial hypertension because it's a very small leak. So, there is not much overload on the pulmonary circulation. So, the pulmonary artery pressure remains normal here. Now, if we see the moderate VSD, what happens? Because the pulmonary flow is now increased. So, the pulmonary resistance is also increased. There is increased flow through the pulmonary valve, and this results in a mild pulmonary arterial hypertension. There is increase in the pulmonary flow, and then also we have said that there is a wide split second sound which increases in inspiration. The chest X-ray, because of this, may show a left atrial, because more blood is flowing through this circulation and then coming here again into the left atrium. So, this may have a left atrial and a left ventricular, basically cardiomegaly, resulting in cardiomegaly, and may show a left atrial hypertrophy and left ventricular hypertrophy. These are the differences which occur in a moderate VSD. Now, come to the large VSD. Large VSD, the pulmonary vascular resistance is increased, the flow is increased, the resistance is increased, there is increased flow. So, there is a murmur, there is a flow murmur at the pulmonary valve, which is ejection systolic murmur at the pulmonary area, and then because of the large flow occurring across the mitral valve, because of this increased flow, there is a diastolic murmur also occurring in the mitral area. So, these are the two functional murmurs, additional murmurs that occur, that is a flow murmur of, you can say, across the pulmonary valve and across the mitral valve. This is a diastolic murmur and this is a systolic murmur that occur in the across the pulmonary valve. Heart sounds we have already discussed. S2 is again wide split and it varies in the inspiration. P2 is loud. S2 is loud again because of the pulmonary arterial hypertension. Chest X-ray may show left biventricular. Now because there is a strain on the right ventricle as well, on the right side as well, because of the increased flow. So there is a right ventricular and both left ventricular enlargement. There is a biventricular type of cardiomegaly may occur here. And you may have, again, pulmonary arterial hypertension will be high. Now, this pulmonary arterial hypertension, as long as this is maintaining a flow across the pulmonary valve from the lungs into the, this is not obstructed, this is known as the hyperdynamic type of pulmonary arterial hypertension. We will discuss more about it. What is hyperdynamic or hyperkinetic pulmonary arterial hypertension and how does it transform into obstructive pulmonary hypertension. Now, if we see again the same picture, we have already discussed all these in the, this is the small VSD, the first one, this is a moderate and this is a large VSD, and then this is the later stage we did not discuss, and in all these are, all these are acyanotic. However, at the later stage, when there is increased pulmonary arterial hypertension and there is, this results in increased pressure in the pulmonary bed, and this increased pressure in the pulmonary bed results in changes in the pulmonary vasculature so that it obstructs the pulmonary flow. Now, when the pulmonary flow is obstructed, this is known as obstructive pulmonary arterial hypertension. Now, what will happen? If the flow is obstructive, outflow from the pulmonary valve is obstructive, then there is a back pressure. And due to this back pressure, this right ventricle pressure increases and ultimately it may equalize the left ventricular pressure or it will also exceed the right ventricular pressure. When this occurs, then the shunt changes from the left to right to a right to left shunt. So, this is the later stage in, ultimately this happens in a VSD. If it is untreated, the pulmonary arterial hypertension changes from a hyperkinetic type to obstructive type. Because of the obstruction in the pulmonary bed, the pressure in the right side increases, and when the pressure in right side increases, ultimately the left to right shunt is reversed and becomes a right to left shunt, and that is known as the Eisenmenger situation, which we will also discuss further in these particular slides.